So, Jim, there's so many plumbing companies out there that never even exceed $1 million, so like in revenue. Why the hell is that?
Yeah, so I get asked so many times by it's like kind of like one truck operations, like where they have, it's just a licensed plumber that went out on his own and he's a great plumber, he's a great guy, all really good people. And they go out on their own and then they're like, okay, now what? And they come to me and they ask me for advice and they go, hey, what can I do? I want a company like yours. I want, several trucks. What do I do? And I always give them three bits of advice. I always tell them to, first off, you got to have dispatch software. You got to have your customer info and you have to keep track of that. And then also QuickBooks Online. You have to have that information go into QuickBooks. And every month you need to be able to go over that P&L. And it's so important to know the numbers. So that's the first thing I tell them. The second thing I tell them is to join a BNI group. So like some kind of networking group, because you need to get your elevator speech down like nobody else, right? You're going to need to know your company better than anyone else. And if someone asks you, what do? You got to have it ready to go. So I always joined a BNI group, Business Network International, where you get up every week and you give your elevator speech. And, I couldn't afford 20 sales reps to go out and tell people about my company. But what I could do is go to that meeting every week and I would tell those 20 people in that networking group who I am, what my company's about. And then they would go out and tell their uncles and their family and friends if they ever needed a plumber to call me. So that was one thing that I always did, always make sure I was in a networking group. And then the last thing I would always say is to get an office space. It doesn't have to be anything huge, extravagant. Get an office space so that, you want to feel like a business. You want to be able to, when you go to interview that next person, you have a place where they could come in and see that you have an offer, like you're building a company. So I was telling them to get a small business office. So those are the first three things that I tell them to do. But one time someone had told me that like the CEO of Southwest Airlines doesn't necessarily have to fly the plane, right? That he's not out flying planes. He's out building a business and it's people, it's the finances. So I always, tell these guys, you have to position yourself out of that truck at some point. You're going to need to be the one to go get the business and hire plumbers to go and do the work. But so many times they get stuck in doing the work that they don't work on building an actual business.
Yeah, well, this is what's so interesting about this because you already have a very successful business, Jim, that spans from San Antonio all the way up into Dallas. Like, you guys are the major player in Texas.
Right.
And, first off, I should go back. Do you have to go back to those first few things and describe what P and L stands for to people? And we don't have to talk about that. Obviously, our six listeners, they know what that means.
No, and I've actually talked about this, and people are going, well, "What is a P&L?" I've had my son ask, like my 17-year-old. I'm telling him, and he goes, "What's a P&L?" It's like profit and loss statement,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something that you want to look at every month and see what is different every month, and if something's different, why, and then go through it.
Now, Jim, you talked about looking at that profit and loss statement, but you've come up through this trade. You started out as an apprentice and come all the way through. At what point did you transition, like you said, from working for the business to working on the business?
Yeah, so in the very beginning, because I had always worked in the office, I was a business manager at a very large plumbing company at only 23 years old. I was always in the office side of the business. And then when I went out on my own, it was just me and one plumber. So I was out there doing it all. I was answering the phones on the incoming call. I was with the master plumber doing the work. And then I'm out trying to network and get more business. I had to do it all. And you realize pretty quickly you can't do it all. Like you have to build a support staff and you have to reinvest the money that you're making back into the company. And so you have to do it. To answer your question, I think fear is why a lot of people don't add that truck. Like I can do it. Maybe my wife's answering phones for me. and they just get struck by fear of, man, what if I hire this plumber and he's no good? Or what if I hire him and he floods a house? Or, it's all those what ifs. And man, in your very beginning, you just have to do it. You have to get that first truck. And then the second truck gets a little bit easier. And the third truck, a little bit easier.
Yeah, and Jim, to set this straight, with all the techs you have running on the road right now, the fear never goes away, right?
Oh,
There's
absolutely
always
not.
fear.
Yeah.
But how did you get over that first fear of like that first truck? Because you're right. So many people just cannot get over that first little hump. But you
Yeah.
did it, and obviously you continue to do it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just something inside of me. I was just like, I want 4 trucks and then I want 5 trucks. I knew from the get go, my goal was to have a 20 truck operation. So I knew, like, at the end of this, I'm going to have 20 trucks on my road. Right. So I think having a plan, a 3 and a 5 year plan, and then working it backwards is so important. One of my biggest pieces of advice to anybody looking to start up a plumbing company, or maybe they are in a truck operation, they want to grow, you got to find a business mentor. You got to find people that have already done it, and you got to meet with them every week. And it's up to you to make that happen. They're not going to go out of their way to come to you. You got to go seek those people. And, I found a business mentor in a group called Entrepreneur Organization. It's called EO.
Mm-hmm.
I found amazing people in that group, man, go-getters, people that were hungry to grow their business. Those are the people that I wanted to surround myself with. So you got to go out there and find those people that are willing to help you get to that next level and keep you accountable.
Jim, Will's been talking about how big you are, but how many
No,
trucks?
his business, Terry. I've been talking about how
Okay.
big his business is.
How many trucks or how many techs are you running right now?
We have 15 in Dallas, and then we're looking to open up in San Antonio in 3 months. When my non-compete's over, I had sold my company in San Antonio and had a non-compete, and it's almost up. But at that operation, I had 18 trucks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had grown it pretty good. And we always had a very kind of a niche in the marketplace. We work with foundation repair companies, and I've just really positioned myself really well with the National Foundation Repair Association, and then just networking year after year. I've just been doing it for a long time.
Now, you talked about finding kind of like a mentor as you're growing your business. You're getting. Was that mentor involved in plumbing? Was that their trade, or
No.
was it something different?
No, my business mentor initially, he owned a large staffing agency, but
Mhm.
the big thing was that all businesses are the same. It's people, it's money, knowing your books.
Yep.
It's all the same. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be someone in the trade at first, just someone that really knows business and knows people. That's going to be so important. I'm just really blessed to find people like in the AC business, people that are in similar trades,
Yeah.
but it didn't necessarily have to be plumbing. I think it's more of just business of growing a company.
Yeah. So many of the individuals we've talked to in home service, they all have that similar or same background, same stories, can learn from each other. I don't know what they're learning from Will exactly, but they do associate with him.
Hey. No, hold on. This is kind of cool because I feel like you got a do-over in a way, Jim, because you exited a business, which,
Right.
I mean, so many want to do that. But, what did you do differently the second time around after you made that exit? What was the light bulb moment? It was like, okay, now I'm doing this different.
We talked about the fear. Like, I had the playbook. I just had to go do it in another city. And it just, I had the company up and running in 30 days. And that fear of like, what if I start spending $20,000 a month in advertising and I don't get any calls? Or what if I put up a billboard and nobody calls? 15 years ago, that would have really ate at me, right? And now I'm like, it's a proven, you put 20,000 out in advertising, you should make about $200,000 in sales. It's just I think the fear, was the big thing, and just finding really good people right off the bat really helped a lot.
Well, and what did you avoid though? Because that was, hey, I've got a second time around. what am I going to do different? But now that you've sold a business, you're starting back from scratch. Like, what were some of the things that were like, I'm never going to do that again?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Foundations.
Besides being on a podcast with Will and Terry.
That was my biggest regret.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to get you canceled, Jim, today. I'm just kidding.
Oh, this is good. I think, right off the bat, I hired a general manager. I always try to do it all myself the first time. I hired a business development manager so that he could go out and help me with recruit, to get the customers. Because before, I was everyone went to me. And it was my phone's going off all the time, and everyone needs Jim. And I wanted to make sure that this go around, I had people that kind of took some of that stress away from me from the beginning. The big difference was I hired people and placed them in positions so that I didn't have to be everywhere at all times to everybody, because it does wear on you. The networking, and everyone's like, oh, I'm Jim's friend, or I know Jim, or Jim said this. It's good that this go around I have a management staff. Like, I have people to help me, I guess.
So it sounds like you built the second go around, you built your organization to scale rather quickly instead of just do one job at a time. You're planning on how many techs you're going to have 2-3 years down the road.
Right. Yeah.
So how long did it take you? Because those are what you described in those key positions, Jim. A lot of those are indirect overhead positions. They're not directly tied to the results in the house. They're not technicians. So these managers and things like that, these dispatch people, for somebody trying to grow a business, which, by the way, let's just call it what it is. Plumbing is insane. The profit margins, because it's such a needed service. People want to pay for it. And when shit's backing up in their house, man, they need you now. But so anyway, sorry to get off topic, but how long did you start to see those hires, these general managers, these administrative people start to show a return in the business? Because I know that's why people are so hesitant in such a small mom and pop operation.
Yeah. So the general manager, I would say like a year in before I really saw that we were really working together and things were going good and smooth. In business development, I think that was the best thing I did, because their job is to get out there and go shake hands and build that customer database and get money coming in, right? I think that was the best thing that I did, because, he could be doing a networking group. I could go do one. My business manager could go do one. So we had, whereas the first go around, it was just me, so there's a lot of good that came out of that business development manager position. And right away we saw the return, because he was picking up large clients that really helped us right off the bat.
Now, Jim, one thing that since we started this, or since the start of this podcast with you, one thing is I've loved your branding.
Oh yeah.
Was that something that you did intentionally, that this second go around, and how important has that been for you? This second time starting out, and building it to go, how has that affected what you're doing?
Yeah. So that was the very first thing I did. I went to my marketing company, Lead Hub in San Antonio. I went to them and I said, hey, I want you guys to help me with a brand. I want something that really stands out. And they came back with 3 different kind of options, and this was one of them. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, 1,000,000%, that's it.
Yep.
That's the winner. So I have other marketing companies. They'll tell me who did your brand? I tell them, they go, that's awesome. I've had people call me that aren't even customers. Hey, I just saw your van at a mechanic shop and your brand is awesome.
Yep.
We get it all the time. I see people go, man, I see that big red beard all over town and I see your trucks everywhere. So having a brand, definitely having something you can brand, definitely was much better on the second go around than the first.
Yeah. And it's probably a little bit more impactful than just having that magnet that you stick on the side of a van that says Jim's Plumbing.
Oh, big time. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and you always see this you could have went the normal route and put JP's Plumbing, right? And we see so many of that, like where companies, specifically in electrical, HVAC, plumbing, they just put like their company initials or last name, and
Yep.
and then services. Like, why did you decide to go with that? And also, you need to fix the beard. There's a little bit more gray in that beard now, Jim.
Yeah.
Well, he's running a business. That gray is warranted.
That's right. That's right. But nevertheless, it's one of those like. Is that what you see a lot in the market, especially because you're mentoring other people across the country now too, where it's like, yeah, I'm Acme Plumbing. Is it not just drive you crazy to be like, dude, first thing, we got to fix this.
Yeah. No, it definitely it drives me crazy. Absolutely. And again, like when I have these people that come to me, hey, I want to, build a company, tell me what I need to do. But then their company is like very like the name just doesn't pop or the name just
Mhm.
it just like I'm like, man, if you could just change your because what you want to do is appeal to the people that are going to be calling looking for plumbing work and they're going to be inviting you into their home and that you want something that is that says that, you want it to be warm and fuzzy. You want it to be like something that, like a homeowner's going to want to call you. So I definitely get it. The thing is, there is so much business in like
Uh-huh.
San Antonio. There's so much business in Dallas. You can name a company budget plumber and you will get calls and like it's gonna, or LNS or LNB or whatever plumbing, you're gonna get, you're gonna have work, but is it something that you can grow and scale and, have in other markets?
But I bet you, Jim, that and maybe you have some numbers. Sorry, I'm going to throw you on the spot here for KPIs. I mean, before in your first business versus now, with your clear branding, do you see reduced marketing costs because of it?
I think, with my first company, it was all relationship. I only spent like 2,000 a month on Google and I was
Hmm.
able to grow a company that was doing about 350 to 400,000 a month in revenue. And we spent like zero on Google. I just really, it was all about relationship based. This go around, I'm much more like I'm putting money into Google, local service ads, Facebook, social media, because we do have such a great brand and I feel that it really pops. We have billboards, like we do want to grow this as a brand. We are, doing that slowly but surely. But I think with having such a cool brand and logo that I'm not scared to put that money out into the marketplace
Hmm.
and brand it.
Now, Jim, you were talking about your previous company. You had relationships that basically funneled work into you, right?
Right.
But those have to be relationships with vendors who have multiple units, multiple doors that are going to be reaching out for a plumber multiple times.
Right.
If you're building a company that has brand recognition so that that homeowner, if they need a plumber every 6 months or every 12 months, is going to think about you, those are very different business models, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big thing with us is reviews are like our company, like we are out there getting as many reviews as we can. We have over 1,600 reviews and we've only been in Dallas, almost at that 4-year mark. So we are
That's
getting,
crazy. That's
yeah,
nuts.
5-star reviews like nobody else. And we started it with like, I started doing like, oh, first one to get 5 reviews this week gets, $50 or, it was a lot of like competitions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to like 500, and then we got to 1,000, and then we got to 1,500. So the reviews really help us with Google in the sense that like we are wanting to build our own database. Like you said, we want to be able to market to our own database through, email marketing and then, do some mailers and stuff. So we do want to build our own database. So we have kind of two pieces to our business. We have our niche that we work with, and then we have, building our own customers. So
Well, and I think that's a good segue because you mentioned something about celebrating the wins with your team.
yeah,
And Jim, one thing you've done pretty darn well in the not so sexiest of business is build culture for a
right.
plumbing company. So, what drove that? How did you do it? Like, break down the ABCs, get your crayons out for me.
Yeah. So I think I just like, I think since I've been doing this since I was 18, like a part of me is like, this is who I am. This is what I'm all about. Y'all are my people. The other day I was interviewing a plumber and it's around 11:30. It's almost like lunchtime. And I was like, the interview was going great. And I was like, hey man, you hungry? Let's go get some lunch. So we go and we have lunch. And he goes, man, I worked for a company for 7 years before I came to this interview. I not only never had lunch with the manager of the company, I couldn't even get a meeting with the owner of the company.
Yeah.
He goes, I
Mhm.
want to come work for you. And that made me feel really good. It shows that like we're all in this together. Like let's go to lunch. I want to know more about you. I want to know more about your family. And I want them to know about me and my family, and just I think just building culture of, it's not like we all have a job to do. I own the company, but I have a job to do. I have to make sure that the paychecks are there. I got to make
Mhm.
sure that we're building for the future. I got to make sure the calls are on the board. I have a job to do, and you have a job to do. But at the end of the day, we're just we're just men that have families, and just want to do the right thing.
Now, Jim, you've gone from the second go around, you went from 0 to 15 trucks in about 4 years, right?
Right.
Dude, that's lightning fast. That's crazy.
And the amazing part is, and my expectation is, you're looking back at that first time, right? Starting out, growing, and understanding all the mistakes you made, and then being like, well, or missed opportunities you might have had, and heading those off. But are you finding that this second time around, you're still at times learning and taking or making missteps so that you can always improve? Like if you were to step off and do it again?
Yeah, I mean, advertising, it's like there's always things that are moving and changing, and like you're having to stay on top of that. So I would say, I think marketing is really important to like just stay on top of, and then also like knowing your financials and getting that like as dialed in as you possibly can. Those are two things that like I just have to work on that daily. It's like one of
Mhm.
those, especially things you're not good at. Like I'm not a numbers guy, so it's very simple for me to be like, I'll look at that later. Or I feel like everything's going great, but you have to do the things that you're not good at. And I think it took a very long time for me to realize that.
Mhm.
And so now I'm like looking at QuickBooks. I'm looking at, the reports on our House Call Pro and making sure that they match up with QuickBooks and doing a lot of things that like before were very uncomfortable. But what I did is I got like a fractional CFO and I got a bookkeeper that I am in constant communication with. So there's a lot of things that I am doing this go around to make sure that I don't make the same mistakes I did last time.
Well, let's break that down because there's a lot of companies that think I need a fractional bookkeeper, controller, CFO, which those are totally different things for a company. What made you decide to get a fractional CFO as a plumber that, you know, otherwise, and what were the results from having them in the company? Because a lot of people don't know the difference.
Yeah, so I even got a business coach that all we do is talk to numbers. So I have a business coach that only talks to numbers, fractional CFO, the bookkeeper, because the bookkeeper inputs everything that you tell them. And that's what they do. They're not going to come back to you and be like, hey, you spent 20% this month on subcontractors. You're up 8%. What happened? Like, what's going on?
Mhm.
So a bookkeeper is that just a bookkeeper. Then you have the CFO that is going to go over, where you are for the year, where you are
Mhm.
for the 3 months, what is different, why is it different, can we afford to put another truck on the road? Because just buying a van, you got to put shelves in it, you have to wrap it, you have to put all the truck stock on it, you got to buy equipment, you got to buy a camera. The van is the beginning. I mean, that $30,000 van now is 60,000.
Mhm.
So can we afford it? Let's go through it and let's talk about it. And I'm always the guy that like jumps off the cliff is like, oh shoot, I forgot my parachute. So if I find a good guy, I'm like, you're hired, let's go. And then I'm getting my hand slapped, like, what are you doing? But we're always looking for
Well, they
good
can't slap
people.
your hand because you're too busy falling 10,000 feet a second.
No, if we have good people, man, I like to, all I can do is give them opportunity. But yeah. Anyways, I'm kind of getting off subject, but yeah, just it's so important to know your numbers, know your, and go over it every single month. It's so important. And no matter what business you're in, you have to do it. And it's so easy not to do it when you're the owner and you have nobody else to answer to. So easy to be like, you know, I'll do it next month or whatever, but you've got to do it.
Well, you also alluded to it, Jim, is that, and my expectation is your story is similar to a lot of folks that start and own their own business, right? You were successful because you're good at the trades, you enjoyed it, and that's what you love, right? And now you go from working for the business to working on the business, and it puts you in a whole lot of positions that you at times dislike. But if that's the course you're going to take, you really have to put yourself in those positions to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
So there's an interesting correlation here because when we met Jim, and by the way, I love this because Jim was at our podcast studio a few weeks ago. He's visiting town for a conference, and I was happy to show him our man cave, Terry, our where we didn't take the trash out, and there's boxes everywhere and empty beer cans. No, hopefully it wasn't that bad, Jim. But when you came up, we had a great time going out to dinner, all of that. I'm hearing about numbers and things like that, but also like when I think of plumbing companies, a lot of folks don't associate like faith-based leadership in their culture. And you and I had some great conversations around this, and it's one of those where has that benefited your culture and your people? And also, I've got some follow-up questions about like, does that make accountability a soft thing as you grow?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been really awesome. We introduced prayer into our meetings. So another thing that I did this go around that I didn't do last time as well, I did it, but we're doing it much better this go around, is we have a team meeting every Wednesday at 8 a.m. So they come in, I have everybody fill up this room, and the first thing that we do to start the meeting off is that we pray. And we have a prayer, and then we go into our meeting. And while we're doing that, I have trucks being washed outside. I have a crew that comes out and washes all the plumbers' vans. And so when they come out of that meeting, their vans look beautiful and they're ready to hit the road, right? And then inside, we just, go over whatever it is that's, but just to kind of go off of the faith-based, one of my guys, my top salesman, I went to everybody. I said, hey, we're going to start praying before the meeting. So I want to know, is there anything, like, are you okay with that? Like, are you be offended or anything? And my top salesman goes, man, I see what you're doing, but it's not for me. I'm not going to do that. I said, that's cool. Just at 8:05, just be in the office and I'll just make sure that, the prayer's done by then. Right. So about 3 months go by and we're doing the prayer and he's there every meeting and he does the prayer. Well, about 3 months in, I get a photo of him and his son going to church on Sunday morning. And it was like, dude, I'm like, what? Like, that was a moment for me, right? He had some church hurt in the past, but he knew that it was like, that's where he needed to be. And so one time I had a guy come to our meeting and he's like, he does water extraction. He goes, I've been doing this for 20 something years. I have never seen a plumbing company pray before their meeting. He's like, this company is going to be amazing. You guys are going to be the biggest company in town. I know it. And I've had one guy who gave his life to Christ after our meeting. So many amazing things have happened from doing prayer, but definitely it sets like we have to be accountable. We have to, be the people that we say we're going to be.
Well, and that's why I asked that question, because there's things like don't bring religion and politics and other things into the workplace. And you're leaning into the opposite. Now, I don't know if you bring it in politics, but Jim, has there been a moment where it's like, listen, I love you, I want to forgive you, but I'm firing you? So how has that faith-based leadership helped you in accountability with the team? Because it seems to have helped a lot.
Yeah, I feel like we just don't want to let each other down. I feel like we are a family. I think so many times, and my employees will say it 100 times ago. I've heard it 100 times that we're a family business. They go, we really are a family business. Yep. Like, we really do feel Like if you come in my office, my guys come in and they high five me, they hug me, and they go, I love you. Like that's how we are as a company. Like we truly do, like we are a family and we show it. I think it's just we don't want to let each other down. I think that's yeah, I mean it's just things are going really good.
And it has to make it easier for you, or it has to make it easier for any business owner to be able to have their organization be an extension of who they truly are.
Correct. That's beautiful. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. No, and I think that's so powerful for any business owner out there who's timid or afraid of letting their organization be an extension of who they are, and therefore they don't put all themselves into it at times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
So now I'm going to pivot a little bit because, Jim, you have scaled Jim's Plumbing and your red beard and the gray in it faster than most plumbing companies I've ever seen across the country. And you've done it privately, which is pretty cool. I mean, there's so many people just wanting to roll up all over the country. So there takes some grit to that. There takes some entrepreneurial spirit, but you've also leaned into technology quite a bit. So what have you done specifically to help scale the business from a technology side? And what are some of the things you're excited about in the future that is just going to take your business to the next level?
Yeah, no, that's really good. The dispatch software having, there's a company called Chirp that we're looking into where they kind of go, they kind of just help with the automated process of your system. Like we send a video of the technician as they're headed out to the house. So the homeowner not only like sees the picture, but they actually have a video of how that plumber, it's like a little quick, like 30-second, 60-second little video of that plumber. So they kind of have that, like, know who's coming to their home, make them feel better about that. But I'm trying to think anything else. We do newsletters. Like we use technology, but I would say we're like the best at it, with AI coming out and stuff like that. AI, helps with like automatic review responses so that gets done quick because you don't want those just sitting out there, especially if it's a bad review. You want to get on that right away.
Yeah, but you mentioned even email marketing before, and it's like I'm going to admit myself first. Even I'm bad at email marketing. I got thousands of customers in my database, and I'm bad at it. But you mentioned that before, and I'm like, oh crap! Like you guys are leveraging that. So what are you guys doing on email marketing to help generate leads in future business?
We do newsletters. We do all kinds of, and sometimes on the newsletter I'll have like a video of me, like, hey guys, it's November. Make sure that you get those. If you ever have any issues with drains during Thanksgiving, you give us a call. We got a special right now going for you. So we'll have like video embedded into the newsletter, but we send out monthly newsletters, and then we do like specials, real simple stuff just to, because the main thing is keeping your name in front of those people as many times as you can. I think the adage is like they have to see your name or face like 7 times before they start to trust you. So you just want to keep, just stay in front of them, over time.
Now, Jim, obviously you're passionate about the trades and you're passionate about growing the trades and helping others grow it. How have the plumbers that we know up here in Oklahoma City have been very involved in helping that next generation of young people get into the trades because they see it as a resource that they'll be able to tap into at some point to hire them, but they also know the benefits of actually having this trade and having this as a career pathway. Is there anything going on like that down there?
Yeah, we definitely, man, we're always looking for good young people to get in the trade. I had a phone call where the young man was like, hey, I don't have no experience. I really want to get into the trade. I've gone to every plumbing company in town. No one will hire me because I have no experience.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, come to my office. Let me talk to you. So he comes to my office. I hired him. He now owns his own company as a master plumber.
Nice.
So many years later. So the thing is, again, we can give people an opportunity, but so many times I see where like young people, they want to get in the trade and they're like all gung ho, but they're so scared to touch anything. It's like they just want to hand tools all day. It's like, no, you got to get in there and do the work. Don't be afraid of it. you're never going to grow if you don't do the work, like do the actual plumbing. So it's real important that these young guys, that we keep them motivated to do the work, because I don't want a bunch of guys with just hand shovels, like, or hand, channel logs. I want them to not be afraid to do the work, I guess.
And Will, he brings something up that I think is so important, is this generation of students that I see is so afraid at times at making a mistake that they will miss or not take those opportunities because they're afraid of failing. And I don't know what we have to do to tell them to. I mean, everyone's failed. I mean, I don't know one person that hasn't
they could
failed
spend
at
a
something.
few days with me, bro, and they would see it like nonstop.
You fail daily at times, Will, but I mean,
hourly some days, Terry, just to be clear.
Yeah.
I mean, and in fact, our listeners, all 6 of them, didn't get to see the show prep today, and how much I screwed with Terry's equipment and all that, and the sound is all over the place. But, and by the way, back to a funny little thing about like a customer needs your branding. Somebody needs to see your name so many times.
Yeah.
That number specifically, they need to see it 7 times before they recognize it. They need to see it another 3 times before they remember it. Do you know who that was, Terry?
we've had them
We
on our.
have had this on our short form content in past episodes. You should remember him. It was you want to take a guess, Terry?
No, I'm bad at 20 questions here. Will.
Leo Burnett. Okay, so do you know who he was?
Me or him?
Leo Burnett.
Yes.
Okay, so do you know who Leo Burnett was? You do. He invented the Marlboro Man ads. So great advertiser, killed a lot of people in the process, but that's where that actual statistic came from. So, it would be interesting to see that far back how the data would change. That I think as contractors, people need to see us more than the 7 times and then again another 3 times to be able to remember it, because then, I mean, our short-term memory is getting so low and things like that.
I'm kind of interested, and maybe you can talk, maybe you can't. And if you can't, that's fine. But you're stepping back into a market that you've exited. And so can you take me through the rundown of what your first steps are as you enter back into this market? Like, I'm getting into it, and this is how I'm going to hit the ground running, and this is my playbook. And if you can't, that's fine. But
yeah, I mean, one of the cool things is I had our top sales rep for the last 2 years. He came to me and he's like, hey, I really want to go there and like help you with San Antonio. And I want to be, like in management, and I really want to grow with this company. So that meant a lot to me, that we're going to be able to take the same culture here and immediately put it in San Antonio from the start. And it just means a lot to me that he makes a lot of money. He could easily just stay making $150,000 a year at Dallas, but he wants more, and he sees that this is a company he can get more. So I think that is like really important to me. It means a lot to me. I'm excited about that. But all my plumbers, my business development manager, they're all like, we want to go, we want to help you. So our team is basically going to go there and just really do, rinse and repeat of what we're doing here. But, not one person's like, hey, they're not worried about like, hey, I want extra money. It's more of like, I want to go there and see this company grow. So,
By the way, is that Sebastian? That
in business development, yeah, he would be
I
the
met
one to
him.
go.
He's an awesome person.
Yeah, he is amazing young man. So
Yeah, salt of the earth type guy. Easy to get along with. Man, it makes sense he's in business development. Where did he come from before? Just knowing you're kind of hiring, because people say, well, nobody wants to work, and I know that's how that works. But anyway,
yeah, so he was in leadership for a welding company. So he did welding.
Yep.
And so again, I think like with running a business, it's like having the right people in the right seats. And that guy has Labrador Retriever energy. Like that guy is like biggest smile in the world. He's ready to, do whatever it takes. I'm like, dude, you need to be in business development. You need to be out the first face that people see of our company and just go out there and help us grow. And he is doing amazing, and he loves what he does. And Yeah, that kid doesn't need to be under a big welder's mask. He needs to be out there smiling and shaking hands.
And I met a lot of your people, Jim. Obviously, it's a reflection of you, but not a lot of business owners are good at hiring at all.
All right.
What was the weird mindset shift you went through that made you really take that serious? And how did you become better at it and also train your team to do it better?
Man,
And I'm going to address the stinking thinking if I'm talking about Zig Ziglar talk here. But plumbers, HVAC, electrical, welders even, they're out there saying nobody wants to work and this, and they're just not good at hiring and recruiting and presenting a good
yeah.
face of their company. So, like, you didn't come upgraded with that information right out of the box. So what changed?
So we do a culture index where we send out and it kind of goes over kind of how that person sees their job and how they see that role and then how others perceive that role. So like it kind of goes through a list of all these questions and it'll tell you a little bit about that person. So that's one thing that we do. But the other thing is, and what I've always told my management team here is all we can do is give an opportunity. It's up for them to run with it.
Uh-oh.
I was kind of on the fence. So I was like, man, I don't know. And then I bring him on and he crushes it. And he's doing amazing. He's like my number one sales rep for 3 months in a row or, whatever. So I give people opportunities. I do everything I can to help them, give them everything they need to succeed. I want to set them up for success, but it's up to that person. And I've had guys come in with holy boots, just looking at the floor the whole time I'm interviewing them, and I hire them, and now they're one of my best employees. It's like sometimes people just need someone to believe in them and kind of get them going, and they can really turn that person, that spark, and make them a new person. So I would say you just got to give people opportunities and don't be afraid to make a mistake. If they are someone that is just out for themselves and doesn't fit culture, and you can get rid of them, you can let them go, right? But sometimes people just need someone to believe in them. So I guess that's where I try not to put too much judging them right off the bat, I guess you say.
So, Jim, going back to that, the idea of if you could go back and talk to that young kid who's stepping out of high school, who's saying, hey, college ain't for me. I want to go into the trades. What would you tell them about the road ahead of them? And would you leave anything out, or would you be completely honest and tell them, at times it's going to be hard and times you're not going to want to do it?
Yeah. So I'm dealing with that right now with my 17-year-old son. He's about to graduate high school.
Ooh, this is going to be good.
And he does not want to go to college. And I'm
Good.
like, Brody, you have an opportunity that not many people, I didn't have it. Like I had to go to work. I had my first apartment at 18. I moved out. I didn't have an opportunity. I was like, Brody, you have an opportunity to go to school. Nothing I say, he's a super bright young man. And he
I was going to say, was this reverse psychology on him that you were doing,
No,
Jim?
he's
You were
gonna
like, no, you
do-
should go to
he's
school.
gonna
He's
do
like,
amazing
screw you,
things.
Dad. I'm going to college. I'm not
But-
going to college.
I wanted him to go to school. I wanted him to, get an accounting degree but the thing is, if you don't love it and it's not something you want to do, you're not going to get the results out of it. So I pulled back. I said, all right, if this is what you want to do, he wants to come and learn our business. Hey, you're going to do it, but you have to be all in, like all in. So I can't wait to get him here, coaching him. I'm going to have him go with Victor, our field supervisor here in Dallas. I want him to learn plumbing. I want him to get dirty. I want him to go in those tunnels. I want him to see exactly what these guys do, because to appreciate what these guys do, you got to go do it. I've had so many people like, oh, they need to upsell. They need to do this. You got to go in and do the work. You got to see what these guys are going through and how these homeowners are coming back to them. And, it's like you really got to get in there and be a part of the company. So anyways, I want Brady to go in, be a true, learn the business from the ground up. It's going to be real important.
Yeah.
And not for 3 weeks out in the field. It's going to be some time, years. I want him to really learn the trade. So
Now, Will, it's funny. He talks about that. There's a concrete company here in Oklahoma City, Cantera. and they will take everyone who they're going to hire, even if they're going in the office, even if they're on an internship, and they will throw them in the field, putting work in place just for that reason, so that they understand what it is to be part of this business and what those people in the field are, what it's like to actually put that work in place. And you know, as a parent myself, and Will, you're a parent, I think it's amazingly difficult to look at your kid and be like, hey, I know how hard this is and you want what's best, but I mean, you've been successful. We all know tradespeople that are wildly successful. It's a great pathway. It's just not easy at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you have to respect every single aspect of that business. Every person that works at Jim's Plumbing now, I want Birdie to know what they do in a day, how they do it, what they go through, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I'm excited about it. I really am. I think it's going to be really great because I know he can do it. So I think it's going to be good.
Is he growing a beard yet?
I was going to say, man, you beat me to the punch, bro. I was like, all right, what color's the beard going to be?
Not yet.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll watch him like take over the business someday, and he's got it down to a goatee. Whatever's in style at that point, right, Terry?
Right.
Well, the whole reason he's got that branding is so when it's on a bus stop, no one else can draw it on top of them. I mean, it's hard it's hard to put that mustache on something that already has it.
Well, and we've had a lot of tradies on the show, and you know I like to give. I like to. Well, I'm in an unlicensed trade, so I can do it, I guess, kind of, maybe. But we get like the mechanical guys, they get called 10 bashers, you know, we got the Sparkies obviously setting everything on fire. But one thing I did not hear Jim say was like, yeah, we got to get that boy out in the field. He's got to huff that primer, you know, in enclosed spaces, man. That's why everybody's happy at Jim's Plumbing, man. They just sit in the warehouse and like, all right, boys, get ready for your prayer and a little huff of primer. Everybody take a big quick hit. Oh, all right, let's go. No, I mean, it is one of those where I work in dirt crawl spaces, as you know, Jim.
Yeah.
And you do too. And boy, somebody opens that can, it will knock you on your rear end so fast. But Jim, listen, I've had a blast with you. I knew you'd be an awesome guest when I met you a few weeks ago, and I told Terry, I was like, man, I got to get this guy on the podcast. So I appreciate you coming and representing an awesome field, but also as an entrepreneur and a mentor to everybody in your specific trade, which needs more people than any other trade right now, to be clear. We know that from our data, from our construction camp for kids that we run. But Jim, if somebody wants to reach out to you, we'll put it in the show notes, but how do they get a hold of you?
They can email me. It's jim@jimsplumbingnow.com. That's going to be the best way. Send me an email. Love to talk to anybody in the trades. I'd love to help guys, especially guys that are coming up. If there's any time that, because a lot of times you just need to talk through things. Like it's a lot of times where you already know the answer, but you just need someone just to talk through it. You know, I don't mind being that person and just kind of helping you walk through, you know, whatever it is that, you know, people are working on.
Well, I appreciate you, Terry, in the studio together today. Man, look at us. We're all grown up, me and my buddy Ron here. But yeah, Jim, thanks for coming on the show with us. Thanks to you guys out there, you tradies out there in the world, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Beers with Contractors. Peace.
Awesome. We'll see you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Beers with Contractors. We hope you enjoyed our chat as much as we did. Before we say our final goodbyes, a friendly reminder. Beers with Contractors encourages responsible drinking. If you choose to enjoy a beverage during our time together, please do so in moderation and only if you're of legal drinking age in your country or state. Furthermore, the advice and insights shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always consult with professionals and experts in your field, and be sure to follow local laws and regulations regarding licensing and permits. We're here to help, entertain, and inspire, but your safety and compliance are important. So, as you head out into the world of construction and contracting, remember to build responsibly and make decisions that stand the test of time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Beers with Contractors. Until then, cheers to your success.